Boston's talk station.
Boehner.
Early mornings at 1.
Well, thank you for being with us on the Jim Bohannon Show tonight at 1-866-50-JIMBO, 1-866-505-4626, and online you'll find us at jimbotalk.net. And we are broadcasting tonight from the studios of our fine affiliate News Talk 1400 WDWS in Champaign, Illinois, just right on the edge of the campus of the Fighting Illini. And boy, what a tremendous reception I got this evening. I mean, half the staff must have been here tonight. It was amazing. The general manager is here, Mike Hale, technician Ed Bond has kept this all going very well. Carol Varell, the morning news anchor, and I remember her from our years together on the Illinois News Broadcasters Association board, longer than I would even care to admit, since Carol doesn't look like she's been around that long. And of course, the legendary Paul Davis, my chauffeur tonight. You owe me $5, Mike, for referring to that. This is really funny. Paul is one of the great journalists of our time, one of the few people ever to be president of both the Society of Professional Journalists and the Radio Television News Directors Association, back when that was its name. Today it's the Radio Television Digital News Association. News director for many years at WGN, the superstation based in Chicago. And as I say, he has been and done an awful lot of things in this racket. And Paul, it's good to have you on.
Thank you, Jim. It's great to have you here in Champaign.
Absolutely. And it was so gracious of you to agree. Paul had heard that I was coming here, and I didn't know that he had gravitated back to his old stomping ground. Wanted to get together. My schedule here is so tight that I said, basically, you'll have to be around me when I'm eating, sleeping, talking, or moving. And he said, well, and I'll be your chauffeur.
Well, it's worked out fine so far.
It has worked out very fine.
We have to talk about your hours, though.
We do, yes. They are a little obscene, I must confess, but there's a big tip in this for you. I'm going to appreciate that. So, in any event, but anyway, thanks certainly to WDWS and wonderful hospitality, provided wonderful support. This is the model, the gold standard for how an affiliate should handle remotes, and we may just simply hold this over the heads of all other affiliates.
If I could add to that, Jim.
Please.
This station and WJBC in Bloomington are the two strong news operations in Illinois that have not fired everybody, that have a competent, complete staff and do news on all of their products. They've got 3 stations that come out of this building, and it's a quality operation that believes in their news presence and their credibility, and they defend it and make it happen every day.
What a concept. Not universally true. I know the economics have not always been great for radio in recent years, and many radio stations, I don't suppose, have ever fully recovered from the Great Recession. Having said that, I think in some cases that's a cop-out. Don't you?
Yeah, you know, the industry used to be required to do a certain amount of news under the days of the FCC rules and the Fairness
Communications Act of 1934.
As amended.
As very amended, yes.
And when that onus was lifted, a lot of stations said, okay, we won't do that anymore. And, you know, not every station in a 12-station market needs to do a lot of news, but some stations are committed to do news, and I'm very happy that I live in a community that has one of those stations.
You should be happy, and quite frankly, you should feel fortunate, because there are many areas where that is not the case. Give us your thoughts, and I know a few people, frankly, more qualified to give these thoughts. Your thoughts on the state of broadcast journalism today.
I watch my product, I can't say my product anymore, the product I was associated with in Chicago, and I'm very proud of WGN TV.
As I think you should.
I think there's a great deal of quality up there under their news director leader of Greg Caputo. I see a lot of products around the country that I really like. And then I see stations that really haven't quite got it anymore. A lot of them are canceling their news wires. they have some other small system, but it really doesn't support them. A lot of the stations are doing this simple, cheap news that has no impact on me. As you may know, Jim, my mother was a small market radio news person.
I didn't know that.
Zona B. Davis. It was on the air, and from the time she was 49 until she was 72. She was an incredible storyteller. And she watched my news. She only lived 70 miles away, and I was on Channel 3 at the time.
Here in this area.
Here in this area. And she called up one night, and she said, "Well, son, I watched you doing the news tonight." And I, of course, was proud to say, "Yes, Mother, of course." And she says, "Well, you told me about a lot of towns I've never been in, and you told me about a lot of people I'll never meet, but you didn't tell me why I should care."
Oh!
So if you ask me what's missing in much news today, is they haven't figured out stories to tell me so that I understand why I should care.
Mm-hmm. I've heard a lot of complaints about the type of stories that are covered and excuses for what I think in many cases might be pandering to the audience, some of it to try and lower that proverbial demographic, the worship of young people, the ones without the disposable income. But beyond that, it seems to me that the problem with a lot of stories you hear on the air or see on TV is not that the coverage of the story it shouldn't be done, but it should be done in an interesting manner. And if you really literally can't figure out how to do it in an interesting manner, that could say something about the newsworthiness of that story.
You're either wrong or you don't know your business.
Well, yes, those are the unfortunate options. But good storytellers can make almost anything. The classic example, I think, for good storytelling, well, two of them really, Paul Harvey and Charles Osgood.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't imagine that either one of them, you could give them as an exercise, the most dull, boring possible story. And certainly Charles Osgood would, and in his day Paul Harvey would, have made it interesting.
I think Roger Mudd had that ability.
Yes, I would agree.
Who many people don't remember anymore. But the thing about it is, we pick a lot of the wrong stories. And we don't look at the story to say, how can I make this of use to a viewer or a radio listener? And therefore, the story isn't of any use to me. When I wake up and watch a morning news insert on a station, and they're all about over the weekend shootings and car wrecks, none of that has an impact on me unless I was in the store that got robbed at the time.
Yeah.
And I want stories that mean something to me.
Mm-hmm.
And those are harder to do, and so the easy way out is to not do those, just to do the car wrecks.
And of course then there are the process stories, which often really at their core are of great interest and importance if done right, but you get off into this a subcommittee in the House today passed the so-and-so, which will now go to full committee, which will now go to conference committee.
Well, in the 70s we used to deal with that here by calling it humanization. We would find someone whose life was being affected by the issue and build a story around them. That became so common, people got tired of that. In fact, I've been known to say to my friends, I don't have enough tears anymore to watch that many stories.
True, you can't overdo it, but at least make an effort to try and put it in a way that means something to people, because process for most of us, the Supreme Court overturning an appellate court, which overturned the lower court, I mean, that doesn't really talk to people. I mean, if in fact something dramatic happened, then say so. The Supreme Court today knocked down police barricades and wherever, or whatever the story may be. Good writing solves a lot of the problems of broadcast journalism.
Hang my mother's comment on the wall in every newsroom. It says, why should I care? Tell me why I should care.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
More to come. I want to continue talking with Paul Davis, again, one of the genuine veterans of broadcast journalism. And a man, as I say, a practitioner, a teacher, a manager. He's covered this from all sides, and as you hear tonight, also as a consumer. He is genuinely an eclectic broadcast journalist. Good thing he paid his eclectic bill. 1-866-50-JIMBO. Back in a moment.